Welcome to the FNO InsurTech Podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsurTech. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd and Rob Beller.
Hey, podcast world, here you are at another edition of FNO InsurTech. As we all know, your favorite and only source of information in the world. So,
a blanket statement.
Well, no, I mean,
yeah, the blanket
I don't
statement.
think that wasn't an exaggeration, was it?
Not in the least. If I needed to learn something, I come here. I come here first.
If you need to know the truth about anything, you just tune to our podcast and we'll tell you. And if it's not the truth, sorry.
Yeah, our bad. We tried real hard.
Then you have to ask yourself the question, why do you only listen to our podcast?
That's right.
And the answer would be swag. Why do you think I say swag? You know, I have to get into this. So, as you know, if you're listening to this right now, our podcast doesn't generally, somewhat, we don't publish our video.
No,
the reason
not normally.
is because who wants to watch a video of 2 or 3 or 4 people talking? So anyways, we don't. Let's put it that way. You and I don't. So what you would see if you were on video today is that Lee Boyd is a major collector of swag. And we've been talking about swag this morning.
We have been, yeah.
And we brought up by the fact that I'm wearing a swag hat right now.
You are from a well-known conference.
From Verisk's Elevate conference in Salt Lake City that they have every year.
Yeah.
That kind of highlights Exact or whatever it's called now. And that got us to talking. And Lee has a collection of swag on his desk that
I do.
is remarkable.
I do. I always have a lot of stuff, right? But right now I have these little stuffed animals that my daughters left on my desk. That's what I have right now. I do. I like swag. My favorite story is the time I saw you walking through the expo with 2 bags of swag for a guy who used to work here, and you were giving it to him so he could take it home to his children. I still remember that one. You were shameless.
I did it only because it was so funny.
It was unbelievably funny watching Rob Beller walk through the expo of, I think, ITC.
Maybe, and just gathering any
bit of
crap that I could get my hands on. Because
any
let's be honest,
junk that you could get.
And we'll ask you as the audience, and please email us. Tell us the coolest piece of swag that you've ever gotten, and here's the key, that you've kept.
That you've kept. Because a lot of it just goes away. A lot of it goes away. Can you answer that
question?
I can tell you, and this is strange, on Sunday morning, when I go to church on Sunday mornings, I bet 90% of the time I am wearing swag socks, dress socks that I got from a conference. I can also tell you, whenever I go golfing, I have a Federato golf glove that I didn't even know it was theirs, but I have a golf glove that is swag. So anything golf, and then dress socks. Those are my 2 things that I'll get every time.
I can tell you right now, without even having to think too much about it, the best piece of swag that I've ever gotten was from Snapsheet.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to Brad and Andy. Was from Snapsheet. It was a Stanley drinking cup, Coke cup.
Yeah.
Big, enormous one.
Yeah.
With a straw. And I've always been a water bottle guy for years. I have metal water bottles, reusable. But what I realized is that one of the reasons that Stanley Cup is so popular is because it works really nicely.
It is nice.
It's a good vehicle for drinking a lot of water, which I do.
Yeah, Stanley has turned into a accessory, right? It's just you drive down the street and you see somebody drive by you and they have this gigantic Stanley. And I'm like, nobody is that thirsty. But it is it's almost a status symbol. You got to have your Stanley. You got to have whatever as you go throughout the day. But let me go back to Snapsheet. Snapsheet, over the past couple of years, they know their swag. We got that lunchbox one time. They had a lunchbox with like a keep warm, keep cool soup container.
Yes.
There's some pretty cool swag out there. There's some pretty cool swag.
In 470 days, I used to always buy 2 things of swag generally for every time we bought swag or a conference. There was the swag that everybody got and the swag that the targets, the
special
people that I felt most warm towards got.
Yeah.
Like we get Yeti cups.
I like those red, yellow, red Yeti cups. I like those.
Yeah. Aldrin Muya, our producer, has about 30 of them in his house and won't give them up.
Well,
I drink my coffee. I drink my coffee out of it every day. It's my one tip of my hat.
You still have it?
To 470. Yeah, I still have it.
Oh.
Some of you might remember 470. That was our company once upon a time.
Yeah, I don't have mine anymore.
Yeah. Anyways, the reason that I bring this up is, if you're going to do swag, do it one of 2 ways. Either spend no time on it and just get anything. Don't think about it. Or 2, put some energy into it and get some interesting swag, because swag collectors, nice swag collectors like Lee and myself, we're looking for nice swag.
No, we don't want the junk. We don't want the junk. We don't want that. Everyone should have a mint. You know, at the beginning of the expo, if you're close to the door, have a mint. But then have something unique, because if it's unique enough and good enough quality, we're going to remember it.
Come on, help us out here, because we're going to help you out today. Because speaking of the best, that's who we have on today.
Yes, we do.
We have Piers Dormeyer, CEO of Eagleview. Wow.
We got the big guy. The big guy from Eagleview is here. We're so excited to visit with him. Eagleview has been around for many, many years.
Many years.
And I remember it, 2006, 2007. I was an adjuster at the time. And I remember when this Eagleview report came out and just changed the way we do property claims. And he's here today, and he's going to talk a little bit about the past. He's going to talk about the future, and it's just going to be a great conversation.
And so I know that there's people that listen to this podcast that aren't necessarily in the claims side, but if you're in property claims, Eagleview is ubiquitous. It's everybody has it, everybody uses it, everybody's aware of it. It's that kind of insurtech. And they've figured something out. They didn't need us to do that some time ago. They possess a tremendous trove of data.
Yeah.
Incomparable, perhaps, trove of data.
Yeah. I think they have like 94% of the country covered with photographs, high resolution photographs. Right. I don't want to go too much into it. For those who don't know, we want him to tell a story.
We'll let Piers tell the story.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
They probably have cool swag.
I bet they have cool swag. In fact, I know they have cool swag. I remember seeing it.
Lee and I have been doing the podcast for so long that for years, early on, we wanted people's swag, right?
Yeah.
And many times, many times, people would send us all kinds of different things of their swag offerings, right?
Yeah.
But we got so many pens and so many Post-it note pads that we stopped asking. And so we should start doing that again.
Well, winter's coming up, and those nice pullover coats are always a nice swag item. Just throwing that one out there.
Yeah, and just saying, Andy Cohen, I could use a new Stanley Cup. Just saying.
Shameless.
Okay, so without further ado or discussion of swag, let's get to our interview with the CEO of Eagleview, Piers Dormeyer. Hey, everybody, we're here with a luminary, I'll say, a super special guest. You're going to love this one. We have Piers Dormeyer, the CEO of Eagleview.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't been living in a cave somewhere in the South Pacific for the last 20 years or so, and in particular, you work around the claims function, Eagleview specifically and broadly. Anyways, Piers is with us today to shed a bunch of light on what's new and what's cooking at Eagleview. Welcome to FNO InsurTech.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Thanks for having me. I don't know if I've ever been called luminary before, so
Luminary.
I need to
love
say
it.
something bright, I guess.
Well,
We're excited to have you on. This is a great opportunity to learn about a name brand company, and we think one of the founding companies of insurtech, right? Technology and things like that. So we're excited to have you on.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, maybe we can use a picture more extensively. I mean,
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And it all kind of started up from there. Give us a minute for because there are some people who've been living in a cave on a desert island. Tell us what Eagleview is and what you guys do.
Sure. So we are a geospatial data company at our roots. And what does that mean? Well, we've got this fleet of airplanes and drones that every year we're out taking imagery across North America. And we're taking out of that base data that we're very, very ultra high resolution at those multiple angles, both the top down orthogonal angle as well as the oblique. So you're seeing the whole sides of these houses. We've designed these cameras to essentially get the data that we need to create these rich 3D models full of measurements, and now all this roof condition data and all of these things that help, essentially bring the earth to the office. Give you everything that you need to work a little bit more efficiently, understand, your assets and the conditions of those assets, and maybe even do some inspections, without having to get in the truck and drive across town. But that's one of the main things we've been doing for insurance, and everybody knows about our roof reports. And since obviously the companies got bigger, and we've done a lot more with that data.
Take us back for a second to the early days, the beginning of Eagleview, and how did the idea happen? I just think it's really interesting how you guys got there, and through to today.
Yeah, it's it's a great question, and it's a cool story. And it was a couple of friends of mine back 15 maybe years ago, maybe longer than that now that I think about it. But it really started with a roofer and a software engineer. And the roofing contractor was really kind of tired of climbing up on these roofs in the Los Angeles area and thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if somebody could just take satellites or airplanes or imagery and find a way to go and give me a roof takeoff so I don't have to do this. And it turns out his brother-in-law was a very, very talented Microsoft software engineer who actually took a birdhouse and took a bunch of photos of that birdhouse from lots of different angles, and then started doing a whole hell of a lot of math that's way beyond my intellectual capacity, and essentially found out a way to build this 3D model from 2D imagery. And that's really how the roof report evolved. And we immediately found that there was probably there might be some interest with insurance, and so the company really evolved before I got here, really focused on that roof, and then really getting very, very quickly into the claims workflows, and away we went.
Was insurance the first vertical that you thought this is where we need to go as a roofer, or was it, hey, let's go to the contractors? Kind of what was the thought with the founders there?
Well, you got to remember, I think there was some founders, and there were some folks that were early investors in the business that already had some connections with insurance. So insurance was just a very, very obvious market where we think that ROI was just going to be really, really great. And when you have to go raise some money, that was a great place to start. But as you guys know, when you're working on an insurance claim, there's always a contractor on the other side of the equation, and the homeowner's right smack dab in the middle. So they kind of grew together, but the focus was certainly on insurance from the very beginning.
Was the acceptance quick? I'm always interested because we're talking to so many insurtechs, and a lot of time the uptake is super slow. And of course, in our industry, things move slowly anyways, as far as changes like this. Is that what they encountered, or was it like a revelation because it was such a unique and useful idea?
So I'd say I wasn't around at that time, but it happened in terms of the typical sales velocity, typical cycle times for getting a new product into the workflow at a carrier. It happened at light speed. But I also think that the product is incredibly easy to understand. It's easy to use. It's easy to implement. You can get, obviously, with all the integrations across all these different workflows, it's gotten a little bit more complex now. But at the end of the day, I mean, you guys have sweated out there in the claims process, and just by having that summary page, that can save you a whole lot of time. And the thing about the Eagleview, the basic roof report, was it was one of those products that just had an incredible ROI right out of the gate. So it was pretty easy to speed that along.
Lee, I mean, you were, you started as an adjuster in this industry a long time ago, relatively speaking. And do you remember encountering Eagleview and working with an Eagleview report?
I remember the very first time I saw the Eagleview report. I wasn't sure if I was scared or excited, right? Am I needed as an adjuster anymore? Or is this a tool to let me look at more claims quickly? And I remember when it went from me, the adjuster, I would order the Eagleview, and then I would show it to my contractor and say, no, my measurements are right. I measured it and they did it. To where the contractor would show up and say, hey man, you don't even have to measure. Here's the Eagleview report. And it was this name brand report that was completely accepted, right? It as soon as the major insurance carrier said, yeah, that's okay, everyone said, I don't even have to pull out my tape measure anymore. They did the job for me. So it quickly not only took on with insurance carriers, with contractors and adjusters and people like that. I mean, to this day, it's still a name brand technology out there.
Yeah. We had a lot of, I remember the early days, and there was an initial period where the contractors were really pissed off because now it was this whole thing. God, now I have to do an accurate report. I gotta have this other thing. And I think it wasn't necessary. I'm not accusing everybody of fraud or anything, but I think it was this technology, and they're like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if I believe it. So there's a period of time where people had to test this out. And then I remember a really good friend of mine, very large roofing contractor, one day just told me, he's like, Piers, you made all my guys stupid. And I'm like, what? And he's like, one day your shit's going to break and my guys aren't going to know how to measure a roof because they've gotten so hooked on your drug. But we taught the industry that we're reliable. And I mean, why would you go and crawl up on a roof so that you can measure something less accurately and spend all your time doing that, risking falling off and everything else.
And I do want to go back to what you said about the fraud. I did not mean to say that people were doing that, even though it did absolutely come out that way. That's not what I meant. But I do think it quickly became a report that all parties agreed upon. Yeah. And there was no longer having to say, well, I measured it and I got this, and I measured it and I got that. Well, let's go back out and you take your tape measure and my tape measure. Supplements and re-inspects were done very, very quickly with this. But you're right. It's it turned into another report that the contractor had to get. Yeah. It wasn't never expected, but it was sure nice when they had it. Yeah. And so we like that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I mean, there's a lot of details about the company. This is kind of more of an industry question, and that is that when you guys started really gaining traction and everybody in the industry became aware of you, a lot of competition popped up. Mm-hmm. And it was all of a sudden, I mean, we knew many people personally who were getting into the roof measurement business. But that seems to have, you guys have seemed to win that war. Is that the case? And if so, how did you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go a little bit deep in the guts here on this one. But So there's it's kind of ebbs and flows. When Eagleview first started, there's this idea of creating these roof measurements. It was fairly novel, and there was a few folks that got into the space, and we started making a little bit of money and getting a little bit of penetration, and then a few more got in because, hey, there's something to this. And the fact of the matter is that you could go online to Google Earth and get a satellite image, and you could use something like Door to scale the measurements off of and trace roof area and get within some tolerance, some accuracy tolerance. So the early wave was just a lot of folks buying Google Earth, putting software at the top of it and tracing roofs. And then what we found is those customers kind of came back to us, because then what ended up happening is it turns out that it takes more labor to draw a roof much less accurately, because you just don't have the sharpness and you don't have the pitch and you don't have all those details. And it turns out, like, being off by 2 or 3%, especially if you're a contractor with the cost of materials rising, it really matters. It matters a lot more than it costs to go and spend a couple bucks on a roof report. So we saw that happen, and then we saw other technologies kind of come in, but the workflow was a little bit different. And it was that whole, do you really want to go out to the house and then wait for the report? And it was just, or do you want to put that on the roofer, to the homeowner to take photos? We've kind of found that right balance for just ease of use and workflow, and then accuracy, and then scale. Now at this point, we have the ability to deliver in minutes at thousands and thousands of roof reports per day. And turns out that really matters when you're trying to deal with a CAT and some scenario where your customers are expecting, data back.
So was the play, and this kind of leads into my next, I have two here. So was the play quality, right? To make sure that you have quality images, which leads me down the path of you own airplanes, right? Or you own, like, you have a fleet of planes that have high tech hardware that's taking this. What was the decision? Now, you might not have been there at the time, but when was the decision that we need to go get the photos ourselves versus rely on okay data from satellites? Talk about that a little bit.
So I'll take you back to the birdhouse. It was we very quickly learned that a satellite image wasn't going to be good enough for getting accurate roof measurements. That was quickly figured out. There's certainly great use cases for satellites, but without getting into a ton of detail, you can do it some of the time. You lack the perspective, that oblique angle, so that you can understand pitch is really important. The sharpness is really important. And then there's actually just distortions that happen when the satellite gets delivered to your page. A lot of that data gets pushed together, and then you have these geometric kind of distortions that make it really dangerous to measure anything from. So from the very early days, Eagleview was sourcing aerial imagery from a company called Pictometry. The Pictometry guys had been really were the pioneers of aerial imagery, focused mostly on government applications. Then they'd been around for 10 years prior to Eagleview showing up. So when I joined was when Eagleview and Pictometry merged, and then we vertically integrated. And ever since, Eagleview's mission has been, how can we continually deliver better and better imagery for all the industries that we serve? Because the higher the quality of that base imagery, the higher the quality of all that data that we can extract, and the better that gets. And at this point, now that roof report's like 99% accurate when measured against lasers, LiDAR, and nerds. And it just wouldn't be that way unless we controlled the base layer of data. And now with Gen AI and agentic AI, that baseline data set, as it gets better, when we start actually putting that into the ML models, the output is so much better. So it's really central to our entire value proposition, is having the baseline data that we build everything out of.
Hey Lee, you know what I'm thinking about?
No? What are you thinking about?
The beautiful season of fall. And you know what that means?
No, I don't.
Not the colors, not the weather, not get out your sweaters, but get on a plane and get to Las Vegas for ITC Las Vegas.
ITC Las Vegas. It is coming up October 14th through the 16th. What a great time. Rob and I are headed back. Can't wait for it. Nothing like fall in Las Vegas.
And once again, the annual convening of all the InsurTech nerds and concerned parties all in one place under one enormous roof. So if you're going to ITC Las Vegas, look for us there.
Look for us there. Also, use the code in the show notes below. That'll get you a discount on your registration. But we look forward to seeing everybody in Las Vegas in October. And if you see us, come by and say hi.
See you in the fall.
Well, it's also interesting in my head, and I've not seen official marketing on this, and maybe I have and I read it, but I no longer look at Eagleview as just a roof report company. I look at you as a data company.
Yeah.
You can produce roof reports, but you also have this whole set of data that people can tap into, that companies can tap into to help automate or verify or answer. Can you talk a little bit about the transition that's going on with the company from being a roof report delivery company to maybe more of a database company?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a subtle change over time, and then it feels like it just accelerated over the last couple of years. But we've always, parts of our business, if you're talking about what we do on the government side of the business or an infrastructure or something like that, it's always been, we're going to go and collect that baseline imagery data, because that's a picture of what the world looks like right now. And we're trying to understand an asset, whether that's a bridge or a school or a transmission box, any of that type of stuff. That resolution, that higher and higher resolution really makes it. Looking at the street sign inventory for a county, all that quality really mattered. What ended up happening was we'd build software, and then we would load that with the latest imagery, and then we would essentially give that to our customers to work with. And then in some cases, we would just give the customer the answer. The customer just wanted to know roof measurements, so we built a roof measurement product around it. Our customers in construction wanted gutters at one point. We built gutters. We built a report that gave you parking lot information. You name it, we've built it. But what's happened recently is we started to realize that when you start taking apart the roof report, you just end up getting all these different types of data. And sometimes that data is valuable in other parts of the workflow. So now what we're really doing is starting to break that up, and we'll always sell a roof report, but chances are you might just want to know what the material type is on that you might want to know the distance to the water. You might want to understand, 400 other different property attributes that we can pull from that imagery. So I think it was as we started to spread our wings and get a little bit bigger and talk to more customers, our customers are sitting here saying, well, what else can we do? And then we'd come back and say, well, let's make it a little bit easier, because it's just data that you really need us to extract and deliver into your system in some sort of way.
And so with the data play in our current world, large language models are everything. Has that intensified the need for data? Are customers saying, we want raw data and we want to do, maybe let me take a step back. How is AI affecting you today? Let's go with that. How is AI affecting you today? And what are you as a company doing in this new world of AI?
And this is always this question. I get this one all the time, and I always feel it's always strange to say, because it kind of seems like that's what everybody's saying, but it is the future, and it's kind of everything. And let me give you a reason why. For us, as I mentioned, we're flying a couple times a year all over the United States. The level of our quality from what we were in terms of resolution, think of just the sharpness of an image. It's about the best stuff we're flying right now is about 9-10 times better than it was just 2-3 years ago. So not twice as good, almost an order of magnitude as better. And then when you think about how machine learning works, or LLM and deep learning models, really what it is it's feeding this data into a system, and the system's trying to match up, and it's trying to find commonality, and then it's going to deliver you what you ask for based on what it thinks that thing is. So when that quality gets so much better, and then you feed that into those systems go from being 65% reliable to 97% reliable, and you're able to get so much more productivity out of that. And then you start being able to take what's been created by our friends at Claude and OpenAI, and well, I should say Anthropic, but you start feeding that with all of this high accuracy data. Then the model outputs just get so much better. It's like it's the difference between going and throwing a Wagyu steak on the grill versus the cheap stuff. You're just going to have a much better result. So as we're going forward, we recognize that we're going to continue to push the envelope on the quality of the base data, because it truly is garbage in, garbage out. And we want to maintain that quality level as we do even more in terms of data. You'll see with our latest offering, which is called Eagleview One, we're building in our own LLM capabilities so you can extract whatever you need. And we're going to continue to load that up with the very best, and then pull in partner information in as well, so that we can build an even clearer picture. So it really is kind of a Gen AI in particular is an enabler of these agentic tools that I think are going to really be the next major transformation in a lot of these workflows across insurance and really across any field that has anything to do with property inspections or prop tech, construction tech.
What are some of the other verticals that all of this is affecting, this data trove that you guys have been sitting on, right? And that now is available to be picked apart and leveraged.
Yeah, I'd say that construction is again right on the other side of the equation when you're starting to talk about the claims process. That's pretty obvious. But you're also starting to see property management. I see the real estate exploding, financial services, mortgage, appraisals, home inspections. Those are all areas that require, and again, this is one of those things that you have to refresh that data, and because the property is going to change and the view is going to change as time goes on. So it really creates this recurring need to have that. But you have these particular areas, infrastructure inspections, just all over government. You have lots and lots of need for tools like this. Because we also have a workforce crisis, and there's not a whole lot of folks that want to be adjusters anymore, and there's less that want to be home inspectors and appraisers, and you still have all that work to do, and we still have a growing, thank God, economy and population here.
Is there a way to address the real-time issue, right? And I mean, if you're flying over the country a couple times a year, there's a lot of data, there's tons of data that comes out of that. But if there's a storm or something like that, do you send the fleet to where the event occurred and get real-time photos and utilize those?
Yeah, we have we kind of have our steady state capture operations, which there's a lot of inputs that go into this, but there's planes that are flying on a sort of regular cadence, normal conditions all over the country at any given time of the year. However, we have a program called DRP, which is our Disaster Response Program. That's where we see a lot of times where, we need to mobilize really, really quickly. And DRP in insurance, we tend to think about hurricanes, and we tend to think about wildfires, and when we think about tornadoes. But that program is really designed to respond to really any kind of disaster event, because we have customers that need that information from state and local, federal government, all the way to our carriers and everything in between. So, I mean, our first mission within the DRP program was 9/11 in 2001. So,
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And volcanoes, and we've done tons of wildfires and everything in between. But how we mobilize, hurricanes are about the easiest thing for us to go accomplish because we have so much time. But there's a whole part of it's like almost our special ops team that comes together. And by the way, these things always happen on a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. where we call everybody together. And they start moving planes around from all over the country, and they're trying to figure out what are the optics that we're going to need based on what we think the cloud cover is going to be and the flight ceilings. And then we start thinking about, should we be getting drones in there as well, just in case we can't get the planes in? So there's a whole group at Eagleview that just thinks about how to respond to those things. And then once they happen, we then have a whole secondary process to process that imagery, do change detection, and then get all of that relevant data back to our customers.
So I want to get back to AI for a second. I mean, of course, we could have spent the entire podcast talking about it, but because we're claims nerds, there's other things that occur to us. But share your thoughts on what it's doing to the claims space. And like with such a data-rich company like yourself, I would think that you guys are probably coming up with new applications as we speak, right? It would be hard to conceive of them all. And talk about that transition that's going on and the impact that you see and foresee.
Yeah, so there's some really simple ones. AI has helped us be able to deliver more data on a real-time basis than we have before. So there's just faster turnaround of the stuff that you're used to getting. Where it used to take a day, now it takes 10 minutes. Then there's a set of a whole bunch of other data products and data points that I think are helping power models that can help you get a better view, a predictive view of what where you're going to see the claims, and even after the event, what do you need to respond to? That kind of gets into some of these data points like the roof condition, the roof scoring, roof aging, and combining that with other things. I think you can get a better. I think we can start making improvements in just how we deploy and how we assign value or rather cost to a particular area, and just make it a little bit more effective. New integrations and pulling pre-inspection data together. All of that is kind of right in our strike zone and part of the roadmap that we're rolling out now. Some of the stuff though that I've been really interested in lately has really been around fraud.
Yeah,
sure.
So there's a couple things that we've been thinking about. One of them, we launched our assess program, and we just had a second version release a couple weeks ago on that. And that's an AI-powered damage detection drone solution, right? Where we can have somebody go out and fly the drone, and it's going to scan the roof, and it's going to find all the hail strikes. And we're starting to get our contractors using that tool a little bit more often. So you're going to have less impact of that. Hopefully more carrier acceptance and less of those issues that we know have created so much trouble. Another one has been using things like our roof age data to understand, as we fly and we calculate these data points like condition, age, material, and we can really kind of get an idea of, hey, did that check actually go to putting a new roof on that house, or is that why there's a 25-foot center console in the truck? So those are a couple examples of ones that are just right in our strike zone and we're working on, and we have numerous pilots across lots of different carriers and even IA groups to just try and streamline this process and really just help out with what seems like just unending number of challenges in insurance.
I think it's so interesting. There's always been these problems. And now that you have these base images, we have the technology, we have all these things coming together, you're like, oh, we can actually do something about that, right? We can ask the right question. We can invent. We can help these situations. I think the age, material type, I think that's a fantastic question that you're working to answer, because it helps with depreciation, it helps with prior repairs, it helps with underwriting. It helps with repairability, all sorts of things. So using all this technology, you're going to be able to continue to answer questions that people don't even know that they wanted to ask quite yet.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's the cool thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of the similar things that you can do on the underwriting side of things that also, that also add to this problem of just insurance affordability and all of that, and just getting a little bit better, and even working with the homeowner a little bit more to say, hey, your roof is an asset and it needs to be maintained, and here's some data, and take care of it. I think there's a lot of opportunity because, I mean, that we're all concerned just about. I live in Florida. I live in St. Pete. Getting insurance here, not pretty, and then the costs are out of control. So if we can start bringing loss adjustment expense down and fraud down, all those things will have a real impact, I think.
That'll
So
help.
do you see I have two quick questions. One is about partnerships. I mean, I'm thinking that now this kind of really opens up the opportunity for more partnerships when you have these highly specialized companies that can, leverage your data, right? I mean, is that, and just how this is really this could really change Eagleview from somebody like we know you, the roof the roof report company, into, like you introduced it, into a data play.
Yeah.
Is that what you as the CEO, is that where you're pushing the company down, is kind of into a new identity?
Yeah, I'd say so, and I'm glad you're seeing us that way, because that's something that we've been working on. And I would say that you use the word partnerships as one of the more important things that I hammer my team about, and I'll explain that. I mean, we understand exactly where our strengths are and what it is we want to do. And by the way, it's a challenging thing to do the kind of things we do and put the R&D into the development of the kind of products that we put them into. So we want to be really, really focused as we go to market, that we can leverage our partners. We can be great partners so that we're not pushing against them when we go to market, and we find the right ways to get our data into the folks' hands that need it as efficiently as possible. So what that usually means is really making sure that, we have great relationships with Cotality and with Verisk and with the folks that are in the industry that are actually delivering this data to the place they need to be. And we also think about, when we're launching products, we're always thinking about, okay, if we go and build this thing, are we going to be competing with one of our good partners down the line? Is this something that they're working on too? Like, that's really important. It's easy to not think about that. So we spend a lot of time just communicating, maybe saying too much sometimes with our partners, and saying, hey, here's the roadmap. Here's what I'm working on. What do you think? And if you find out that if you can really do that, you can start to align each other's plans a little bit more. And I mean, you're working together, and things just go much, much smoother.
I love that. I think that's great. Well, hey, in our little bit of time that we have left, we don't want to go without learning a little bit more about you. You are a person who has been at this company for an extended period of time. You've worn different hats. You are not an outsider who came in to take the CEO spot. So I was hoping that maybe you would just give our audience a little highlight of kind of your journey with Eagleview and kind of what got you into this seat, helping to lead the organization from the CEO spot.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'll go back a little bit, but I started my career, I was a recovering engineer, somehow found out that I wasn't going to be a very good engineer, but I ended up working in the roofing industry on the manufacturing side, but calling on contractors really early on. And I spent a few years doing that, but kind of fell in love with really this industry. And I felt like there was some mission here. Just, you have these disasters, you have this process, a lot of opportunities to improve it. I ended up going out on my own. I had my own marketing agency for a minute, and that led me into software startups. And one of them was with, in the MRP space, really trying to figure out how can we make this whole thing better for everybody. And I was an early Eagleview integration partner. I was a customer of Eagleview back in the day. And I remember when I found Eagleview and I heard about it, I was like, kind of like you, Lee, when you mentioned having your first roof report, I was kind of like, first of all, there's no way that works. And after they convinced me it does work, I was like, this thing's going to be huge. It's going to change everything. So a long story short, I was pretty fired up. Eagleview came together with Pictometry. They said, hey, do you want to work here? Doing what? I was like, I'll do anything. I don't really care. And I'll just go call on some roofers. So I ended up working with the insurance team to build up the other side of the business on the contractor side. I took on some more responsibility. We bolted on solar. We bolted on some energy. And really over time, I just kind of took on more and more. We didn't even necessarily have these strict jobs at that point. It was kind of like, hey, you got this idea, go figure out how to build it. And then as we got bigger, I took on a president role and general management responsibilities. And then it just kind of naturally kind of rolled into it. So, but it's just been a whole lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I always love a good journey from working in it and continuing to grow and better. I think that's fantastic. Well, really, I mean, Eagleview does a fantastic job, right?
Oh,
They deliver on what they say they're going to do. You continue to innovate. I love the data play. I think that it's very exciting. And as we're just infants in this new world of AI, right? I think that the future of Eagleview is even stronger. So
yeah,
I think it's exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and don't leave. It's a super exciting time. I mean, are you excited? You must be excited.
Yeah, I'm pretty fired up. I think we have just more opportunity than we ever have, and just
it's insane.
A clarity of mission. I've got an outstanding team from top to bottom, and yeah, we're pretty pumped. I think about some of the other things I could be doing, and it's hard for me to think about leaving a company where I get to do such cool stuff. So yeah, I hope they keep me around for a bit.
Okay. Well, you could always go on the road playing guitar.
There you go. There's that.
It always happens.
See how far that gets me.
Well, listen, we're very grateful as a CEO of a big old company. We know how busy you are, and we appreciate you taking a few minutes to catch us up on the new old company Eagleview.
Well, it's my pleasure. I hope we can do it again sometime.
You can
I look
count
forward
on
to that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's always cool when we have on like first generation insurtechs that are still, killing it, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, their name is just as prevalent today as it was 10 years, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They're a big deal.
To the top, and they stayed there.
Yeah.
And and talk about a moat, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a moat.
Yeah. I always think back to what you say, the one who owns the data wins. I mean, think about all the images that they have. They have 94% of the country is photographed. They have all that. They have it timed over time.
Right.
Very fascinating. And their play on data, I think, is the next thing. It's not just we produce a report.
Yeah.
But you can get the data and slice and dice in any sort of way. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, pretty cool. And very nice of Piers to give us the time. We like having CEOs on, and that was perfectly clear why. And so we thank Piers for his time today and sharing all about Eagleview, and our producers and you for being here with us. And we'll say to you what we say every time.
Goodbye, everybody.